Now let's bring in former senior director of counterterrorism on the National Security Council, Javed Ali. Javed, thanks for taking the time to speak with us on a Sunday. What do these airstrikes conducted by the IDF in Yemen say to you about how Israel is trying to go about dealing with different adversaries now on multiple fronts?
So, Phil, thanks for having me. And with today's IDF strikes against Houthi targets in Yemen, Israel is now taking on, for the most part, most of the totality of the Iran-backed axis of resistance groups. So it's Hezbollah to the north, Hamas to the east. Now we've got the Houthis across the Red Sea and Yemen. And this is really opening up multiple fronts for the Israeli military and other security agencies to manage simultaneously. Israel hasn't really confronted anything like this going back almost 50 years to the Yom Kippur War and the 1967 war. So this is a multi-front war that is opening up well outside of Israel's immediate borders, and no one knows what the next phase of this will look like.
Yeah, and I'm sure the folks in Israel are very keenly aware that Yom Kippur is just a couple of weeks away now. How concerned do you think U.S. officials should be that the Middle East is truly, we say this, the Middle East is heating up, the brink of war, but as you point out, this hasn't happened in like 50 years the way it's happening now. How concerned should the U.S. be that there could be a real wider conflict in the Middle East?
Yeah, Phil, that's a great question. And I would have to think the Biden administration is deeply concerned. As someone who was in U.S. counterterrorism for a long period of time after 9/11, I don't remember anything like this either, with, again, these multiple fronts happening and no clear end in sight where the Israeli campaigns are going. And as talked about, sort of the unresolved issues in the Gaza Strip, Hezbollah, despite the pounding they have taken over the past 2 weeks, is an incredibly resilient organization and has tens of thousands of fighters under its command, probably only have lost about 15–20% of its rocket, missile, and drone capability, has a global terrorist attack capability as well that it has used. And I could go on and on. So this is a really dangerous moment for the region. And again, it's not clear what Israel's objectives are for any of these multiple fronts they are now engaged in.
Javed, what else is also not clear is what would the U.S. involvement look like if Iran should attack Israel? What do you think it would look like?
So based on what happened in April, if your viewers remember, when Israel and Iran were in another one of these heightened states of conflict based on Israeli actions against Iran after a missile strike in Damascus that killed two senior generals, Iran launched a 300 weapon salvo attack that involved ballistic missiles, drones, cruise missiles against Israel. They telegraphed it to a degree, but the U.S. was also very involved in helping intercept all those weapons. And for the most part, only a couple landed on Israel. So if Iran does get involved, I have to suspect one option is a much deeper type of weapon strike that we saw in April that would last for days, not just a couple hours. And Iran, like Hezbollah, has global options as well, has cyber capability. So these are all things where even the fight between Israel and Iran could go off in directions that would be deeply, deeply unsettling for the region.
Deeply unsettling is a good way to put it. Javed Ali, thanks so much. Good to have the analysis.